Hey listeners, are you thinking about starting your own podcast? Well, do I have the app for you? It's called Anchor. Anchor will get you out on Google Podcast, Breaker, Radio Public, Spotify, and many others. Not only that, Anchor will find you sponsorship so you can get paid. That again is Anchor.fm, Anchor.fm. Welcome to Abe's Front Porch Talk. I hope you guys are doing good on this Saturday night. And first of all, don't forget to subscribe to my podcast and check out my YouTube videos and subscribe there as well. And if you like to support this podcast, look for the support button in the app you're using and just follow the instructions on what to do. And if you are not able to financially support this podcast, don't worry about it. It's fine. All I'm asking is you to listen and subscribe and help me find other subscribers. But if you want to support this financially, it will be greatly appreciated and it's up to you. So you're more than welcome to support this podcast each month if you want to financially. And all that money is going to do is go towards the podcast itself. That will help me get better equipment. And I need a good laptop anyways, since, I've said in previous, in previous episodes, what I'm trying to say, folks, I get it out right here in a minute, that I use my cell phone. And this is the only thing I have to do this podcast with. So, without having a laptop or a tablet or any other devices, it's really hard. It really is. And so, with a phone, you're only limited to what you can do. And maybe one day in the future I'll have it. But you guys just keep listening and subscribing, and I eventually can get there. But we're going to move on. Tonight, have you ever heard of a griffin? This is a creature that looks like an eagle and got a body of a lion. Its top part of its body is an eagle, and its bottom half is a lion. And yes, it does have wings to fly. And it's called a griffin. So let me go on and read this. I'm going to do some reading tonight. So I hope you guys are ready to hear about this. And just stay tuned with me and let's go over this. As I said last night about the other episode about the headless creature, I'm learning this with you guys. So as I'm going through this, I'm learning this at the same time. So let's go. The griffin was a favorite decorative motif in the ancient Middle Eastern and Mediterranean lands. In the second millennium BCE, the griffin had spread throughout Western Asia and into Greece by the 14th century BCE. And I looked up what BCE stood for, and it said before Common Era, which was the first year before Christ came. So this happened before Christ, apparently. And now if I pulled up the right link and found the right thing about that, because I know BC is before Christ and AD is after death. So, but moving on, we're going to read some more here. And what mythology are griffins from? In case you're wondering where the griffins came from and you were not sure, it came from ancient Egypt. So this was in ancient Egypt, BCE now, 1 year before Christ. Now, this is pretty good here. Now, how are griffins born? This is a good question. So let's find this link here. And I'm using Google to pull this up. And this says, griffins have the body, tail, and back legs of a lion, the head and wings of an eagle, and an eagle's talons and its front feet. Griffins are omnivores, feeding on both berries and other animals. Griffins lay eggs in batches of 1 to 4 every few years. The eggs will incubate for 3 months before they hatch. Well, that's good to know. Now, if this creature is supposed to be a mythical creature, why is it laying eggs and takes 3 to 4 months before they hatch? So, oh, sorry, let me scratch that. It takes incubate for 3 months before they hatch. Sorry, folks, I jumped ahead there on myself. Anyways, it's pretty neat to me how the griffin can be half bird and half beast. And just think the powers this thing could have. And if you were out in the yard and you know that old saying, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's a superhero in the sky. Okay. Well, can you imagine just standing out in your yard one day and one of these griffins just flew by? What would your opinion be? How would you explain this to people? And would you hope there was someone next to you or your neighbors out in the yard looking up in the sky at the same time and seeing that thing fly over? And what would you do in a case like that? I wouldn't know what to do. I'd probably be like, I know I did not smoke anything, but I'm seeing things. My eyes must be playing tricks on me. But to me, you know, when it comes to these mythical creatures, I feel like that at one time these things did exist. Because why did these people come up with this with imagination and draw this? This is one of those things that's really hard to explain and talk about. Because of the reason of that being is they must have had to see this to draw this. Whether it would have been in a vision or a dream that was, you know, a dream or vision that was more, I'm trying to think of the word and I can't get it off my tongue. A premonition, that's what I'm trying to think of. And either way, people could have seen it physically. So they knew what it was about. But as years came by, these mythical creatures became a fairy tale and a folklore. But do you ever wonder if a lot of them were true and did people really see them? Because when you go back, and let's go back to the Bible here in the beginning of time, starting with Genesis. If you'll read, you'll see about beasts of the earth. And, you know, there were so many beasts, like dinosaurs and all kinds of stuff that roamed the earth in the beginning of time that we have never seen a day in our life. And we will never see them in our lifetime unless somehow or another they have been hidden somewheres that we don't know nothing about. Now, you know, as we progress in time, maybe the griffin died out. Maybe a lot of the griffins died out over the years and just became extinct. But people want to try to let it live on and try to keep the memories. And since new generations came over the years and they never seen this, but in statues or pictures, they always thought maybe it was a fairy tale, and it just became a fairy tale over these years. So what made the people in ancient Egypt to even have statues of this thing, or even be able to tell stories? How did they know so much about what a griffin did? I mean, did they really just have a storyteller that just thought of stories to tell and to help the children, since there were no technology back then? And you know, most people believe that aliens roamed the earth back in the Bible days as well. So we don't know what all is there. But now, if you'll remember, I did an episode about Ezekiel and talked about UFOs and aliens and read you scriptures, how that one alien had 4 faces and 4 wings. It was of an eagle, a lion, and I can't remember the other 2 off the top of my head right now. And but anyways, the point to that is, if you read Ezekiel chapter 1, you will find this similar griffin in there with that. So this griffin has the wings and the face of an eagle, the top body, face of an eagle. The front paws, where the lion's paws would be at, is the talons of the eagle. So that's their feet and legs there in the front. But at the end of it, in the back legs, is of the lion. So now you see where I'm coming from with this. Could this griffin really existed during Ezekiel's time, and we just don't realize the existence of this thing? And what if they're hid and they come back during the end of time? You know, if you will read Ezekiel, and you don't have to be religious, and you don't have to be religious to hear about these creatures and stuff, but it's a lot of them are in the Bible, and it's to pinpoint, yes, they did exist. So when I see this, once again, I go back to the 4 faces and 4 wings alien from the UFO out of Ezekiel. And they all praised the Lord. Well, and they spoke. So what could you learn from a griffin as time goes by if they were here? So I guess I could say, yes, I do believe that griffins did exist. So in the book of Ezekiel, was this actually a griffin that was speaking to Ezekiel during that time frame, but all except that had 4 faces? Or was it another creature that is just a griffin by itself? And this one alien with 4 faces and 4 wings, all on one body, speaking, was that a totally separate creature? I tell you, I believe it is. I believe they're 2 separate creatures. And I believe if you keep finding out about a lot of the mythical creatures we hear today and talk about folklore and fairy tales, we will realize they're not really fairy tales. You can find a lot in the Bible. But you don't have to take my word on that. And I'm not trying to force you to read the Bible and stuff, because people are not religious and don't believe, and that's fine too. But a lot of these creatures are in there, is what I'm getting at. Now, if you're wondering what the spiritual meaning of a griffin is, it says a very protective and vigilant spirit guide. The griffin is a master of astral workings and a guardian of the soul and life essences. In its body, the griffin is blessed with the speed, flight, and penetrating vision of the eagle and the strength, courage, and majesty of the lion. So that's pretty good to know there. So if you ever wonder about spiritual meaning, and if you see one in your dream, you know that's a very spiritual dream you had and it's real. So take heed to that griffin. So let's go on and find another one here. If you look up definitions to griffin, you're going to get a bunch. Because I'm finding different things to griffin and stuff like that. So you'll have to go through a lot of stuff. There's not really a whole lot that I stumbled across, but maybe I can find some here. Okay. Look at this one link. Where are griffins found? Griffins are said to live in nests in the mountains. Head, torso, and talons of an eagle or sometimes other beaked birds like peacocks. Body of a lion, sometimes with a serpent's tail. I didn't know that. Did you guys know about the serpent's tail on these things? Now, I imagine a lot of you that are into mystical creatures and mystical stuff, you probably know a lot about the griffin and a lot of its meaning and where they're from. And you may actually know if ancient Egypt did see these things. And you know, if you did, if you are one of those that believe in mystical stuff and you know, you have mystical stores that people go to. So if you believe in all this stuff and you got things like this in your home, call in on my show and leave me a message and let me know that if someone in ancient Egypt did see these things, because maybe I haven't found that yet. I'm curious to know about a lot of mythical creatures, and I just like to know stuff about this. And here's one says, what does the griffin mean on a coat of arms? So let's pull up this link here. It says, is a legendary creature with the body of a lion and the head and wings of an eagle, combining the attributes of the king of the beast and the king of the air. It was thought to be especially powerful and majestic. So Griffin is king of the beast and king of the air. Oh wow. So basically a griffin is a king. That is pretty neat. And I guess the female is more of the queen then. You got the king and queens of Griffin, I'm guessing. I hadn't seen nothing about a female being called a queen, but I was just saying that since it said king in here. So I'm just taking unless it's somehow another able to transform itself from a male to female too. It's one, I don't know. But this is, you know, it's pretty cool to understand this and you know, Griffin's probably your spiritual guide. So if a Griffin's also your spiritual guide, I like to know in the comment sections or call in onto Anchor and let me know on my show that if the Griffin is your spiritual guide and how it helps you. I'm curious to know these things. I've got a lot of lists. Let me see. I'm getting my words twisted. I can't even talk again tonight. I have a long list of mythical creatures written down that I'm going to be discussing for a while now. And I don't know if I'm going to do it every day for each week, or if I'm just going to take breaks, do some here, like 2 or 3 here, and then move on to something else and come back to it later on. And I may just keep it in continual in this mode like this. But yeah, I'd like to know how does it help you as your spiritual guide? And does a griffin help you through your troubles too as well? And how did you learn about a griffin being your spiritual guide also? And has the griffin ever helped you through, like, say harm was trying to come up on you, but you didn't know there was harm there? And the griffin swooped down and maybe picked you up. You see miracles do happen. So I'm just wondering. Anyways, that's all I have tonight for you about the griffin. Thank you for listening to Abe's Front Porch Talk. I hope you guys have a great night. And don't forget to subscribe once again and check out the YouTube channel.